Hiya, this video's a science of propaganda, which I regard as smart but immoral. And it's going to be done in parts because I'm scared of a technical fault, which would mean I've wasted a whole load of time. And it might be lengthy anyway, so it might also be convenient for me. The following things to do with the propaganda matrix are all inextricably linked. Together they equate to the propaganda matrix. A lot of this video is credited to Caitlin Johnstone, but I've done a lot of work myself, so it's a mixture of the two. Of course, when I give the following points, they are the gist of it. I'm not claiming I've done some kind of degree in this, but it's crystal clear. Once you see through it, it's so clear. So the following points are like the gist of the propaganda matrix. There might be others parts to it that like someone such as Caitlin Johnstone would add to it, but this gets the gist, and she agrees with it. And they're all inextricably linked. Must make that clear. These things all like blend into one. When you take them all together, that's when the penny drops in your head. That's when you see it. If you just take one, it just looks like a bit of a prejudice. But when you see it all fits, it all works, it's all true, then you can't say that really, because it's too visible to you. Anyway, these are the ingredients. Emissions propaganda. It's where the news media sets an agenda, it repeats and it gets repetitive about that agenda, but it doesn't say things that don't fit into what they regard as acceptable opinion. It omits them forever. Such as, for example, if you're born into the United States or an ally of the US, you'll never think that they're on an empire that's sometimes to blame for things that that if another nation had done it, you would threaten them with war. So they omit that kind of thing, or they omit questioning capitalism, which is a massive thing. It's a huge thing. It's like, is there nothing bigger? You know what I mean? So like, it's not just, when we say emissions propaganda, we're not talking about omitting things that are trivial. We're talking about omitting the main things, questioning power itself. That is all omitted. We can't discuss the main things. It's not allowed. I'm not being sarcastic. It's true. And divide and rule is another ingredient. You see that a lot on the right with culture war, deflections and Brexit. Like I just said, agenda setting and repetition. They've gone on forever, every single day, forever. So this isn't some little prejudice thing. It's like, it's real. It goes on every single day, of every single week, of every single month, of every single year, of every single decade, probably of every single century, in every single nation. Yeah, it's their agenda. It's the billionaire-owned news media's agenda. It's not your agenda. Most people are just cooperative in everyday life. It's only when they start thinking about the propaganda stuff that come from the elites that they start to get manipulative and conflict orientated. Next thing, herding, cages, artificial partisan divide. See, the real reality is top-bottom, but they have to create labels, terms, ideologies, all these things that most people don't really go on about unless it's set from the top, because they'd think it was they'd rightly think it was kind of dogmatic and wishy-washy and all that. But when it comes from the top, suddenly it becomes highly serious. And we need to be herded into these different cages. Now, you're allowed out the cage, but only if you get in the other cage. Otherwise, all you're doing is making yourself homeless outside the conversation. And the artificial partisan divide is therefore, because, it's meaningless. It's just what you're born into with most people. But it sucks some people in. Now, that's an important point. A heck of a lot of people aren't sucked in. But all they care about is that enough people are sucked in. They don't care about, if their propaganda matrix is effective, it's good, it works for them, but it's not perfect. It doesn't suck everyone in. So a lot of people just seem to naturally not ever get sucked in. They're just like, they're just naturally like suspicious of power, and they're very healthy. I think those people, they've never ever been sucked in ever. and there's quite a few of them, but they're impressive. Yeah, and the next ingredient is fake freedom of speech. This is because they set the agenda. It's their repetition. They've got freedom of speech. You've got enslaved speech. You're meant to be the parrot. You don't set the agenda. Never. Not. Then the next one is, well, yeah, this links into all the rest of it. I've already mentioned this. Use of terms, labels, mantras, Labour, Tory, left, right, Republican, Democrat. That's all part of everything I've just gone on about, because without they're the ingredients of the propaganda matrix. They need terms. They need to be able to use and abuse things, and to herd you using these terms. They can't do without them. If people from the state superstructure ever knock the terms, right, because they want to get real, then they don't mean it. At least the state superstructure never meant it and never will. Now, it's all set. All of them ingredients I've mentioned, all of the propaganda matrix points there, they're all set by megaphone billionaire-owned news media corporations. They're not set by you. Now, in reality, so this is not the propaganda matrix what I'm mentioning now. This is the reality. If you strip away all of the propaganda, so you haven't got their endless vomit coming out, spewing out from them, what's left? It's like that thing about where you strip away the sea so you can see the ships that have sunk. I forgot what that's called. That program. Never mind them. So in reality, if we strip away the propaganda, what we're left with seeing is a top-bottom system that's real. All of the above, all of what I've mentioned before about the propaganda matrix is just to maintain that reality of a top-bottom system at all costs. The last thing they want is that top-bottom system to go away and for people to take over. That to them would equate to a revolution, and they do not want that. And they don't want to come close to that either. So don't say, oh, well, therefore they allow for radical change. They do not. So it's a propaganda matrix that deliberately possesses enough people's minds, and that's important, possesses people's minds, because that's a criminal thing to do, enough people's minds in order to maintain that reality of the top-bottom structure and the status quo. That's what they want. So the propaganda matrix has a use to them. It has a use to maintain power, control, wealth, profits, billionaires. It's all for them. It's not for you. For you, you're just meant to get sucked in. Should the propaganda matrix get seen through by too many people, what the state superstructure thinks should happen then is that the military is used as a last resort to use force against the people for seeing through it. In other words, they don't just say, oh, game's up, we're sorry, we've been seen through, but we're a democracy, so what they do is they get the military out and they kick ass, and I think they would win as well. So seeing through the state is not an option to the state superstructure. Seeing through the state means that you have to be taken down with force. If that meant killing people, so be it. Right, so that's the gist. What I've said already is, like, without going into depth on any of it, is nevertheless, if you take each point and bring it all together, you've got the gist of the propaganda matrix already. You've got it. You've got the headline. You've got the key points. From there, you work from all of that, and you can expand. So, if this was in university or something, you might want to quote Noam Chomsky, who says on emissions propaganda would say the following. He did say the following. The smart way to keep people passive and obedient is to strictly limit the spectrum of acceptable opinion, but allow very lively debate within that spectrum. Now, that sort of like just starts to expand on one of the points from the propaganda matrix. And that's the sort of thing we want to do. So for example, Caitlin Johnstone, on the same point, writes, you never see anyone in the opinion portion of mainstream news media who advocates the dissolution of the US empire or the end of capitalism. At most, you'll see an AOC Democrat who supports the continuity of both of these things. This is to define the limits of acceptable opinion. That was from a 12th of April 2022 tweet. So this sort of logic is like what we see with client journalism. They refuse to hire those who go beyond their acceptable limits, cancelling dissenting voices forever with what Caitlin Johnstone calls emissions propaganda. Meanwhile, the agenda setting and repetition propaganda exist together in order to brainwash sections of the public, herded into different cages. They think they have free speech. This is the masses. They think they have free speech, when in reality, they have enslaved speech. Parrots are not free, they're caged. So, because I don't trust my technology here, because it's often failed, I'm going to end this is for part one. I wish I could just continue talking, because I don't want to end it at this stage. I'm not knackered out or anything. I've just started. I feel like it's just 11 minutes, isn't it, into the video? 12 minutes. So I'll end it here for now, and as long as, and then I'll quickly get on to doing a part two. Just sometimes the volume goes. Anyway, that's the end of part one.